Have you ever found yourself in a last minute scramble, overwhelmed by deadlines, or stuck in a cycle of putting things off until it's almost too late? You are not alone. Procrastination is something we have all battled at some point. But what if I told you there is a way out? A way to break free from the endless cycle of delays and finally taking control of your time? Hello, my name is Pooja Nitin Purwal. I'm an IT professional and a career growth coach. Welcome back to my channel and let's deep dive into procrastination today. Let's see the what, why, and how of procrastination. Whether you are delaying that important work project or putting off personal goals, procrastination can be real productivity killer. But don't worry. In this video, we will explore why we procrastinate and, more importantly, how you can overcome it. So, if you are ready to stop procrastination and start achieving, stick around. So, let's first see why we procrastinate. What are the reasons for it? It's not just about being lazy. Often, it's a complex mix of fear, anxiety, and poor time management. We might fear failure or even success, leading us to delay starting a task. Sometimes task feels too overwhelming and so we avoid them altogether. Perfectionism is another big factor. When we feel like we can't do something perfectly, we might not do it at all. I have been a perfectionist almost my entire life. But recently, for past 2, 3 years, I have started to move away from it because I realized that uh, perfectionism, when I want to achieve it, it just takes too much of time, and in majority of scenarios, done is better than perfect. So get into the habit of getting things done rather than aligning to perfection always. We have all been there, just at the start of a task that needs to be done, but somehow we can't bring ourselves to start. Instead, we find ourselves scrolling through social media, watching television, or simply doing anything but the task at hand. But why do we procrastinate? What is it that makes us put off important tasks, even when we know that we will regret it later? The truth is, procrastination is a complex behavior rooted both in our psychology and our brain's natural tendencies. Let's dive into some of the common reasons why we procrastinate. One of the biggest reasons we procrastinate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, or even fear of success. This fear creates anxiety, which leads us to avoid the task altogether. We tell ourselves that we will do it later, but the later often turns into never. Another common reason is overwhelm. When a task seems too big or too complicated, our brains shut down. We feel paralyzed by the enormity of the work ahead. So instead of breaking it down into smaller manageable steps, we avoid it entirely. And then there is perfectionism. If you are someone who feels that every task must be done perfectly, you might find yourself procrastinating because you are afraid you won't meet your own high standards. In this case, procrastination becomes a way to protect yourself from the disappointment of not doing something perfectly. So now we have got fear, overwhelm, and perfectionism as major culprits behind procrastination. But there is more to it than that. Let's take a closer look on how our brain chemistry plays into this behavior. Through the evolution eras, our brains are wired into instant gratification, which is where the limbic system comes into play. This is the part of the brain responsible for our emotional responses and survival instinct. It seeks comfort and avoid pain at all cost, which often leads us to choose short-term pleasure over long-term gains. So that's why we lean into watching a funny video or scrolling through endless social media feeds over long term rewards like finishing a project. On the other hand, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that's responsible for decision making, planning, and self control, it is what helps us to think about future and our long term goals and start planning for it, start working towards it. However, the limbic system is in charge. It can overpower the prefrontal cortex, making it difficult to focus on tasks that require sustained effort and delayed rewards. Now that we have identified some of the key reasons behind procrastination, let's take a closer look on the science behind all of it. Understanding what is happening in our brain when we delay tasks can help us create strategies to combat procrastination more effectively. Procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's deeply connected to the way our brains are wired. To understand why we procrastinate, we need to explore the roles of two key players in our brain, the prefrontal cortex and limbic system. I gave you a brief just now, but let's get into a little more details. Let's start with the prefrontal cortex. As I mentioned, it's responsible for the higher order functions like planning, decision making, self control, etc. It is what makes you think about your long term goals, set priorities, and stay focused on the task that require sustained efforts. But then there is this limbic system, which is an older, more primitive part of our brain. That's all about survival and instant gratification. The limbic system is always on the lookout for threats and rewards, which means it's more interested in immediate pleasure and avoiding discomfort than in long term goals, because long term goals actually mean delayed gratification or delayed rewards. When we face a task which is challenging or unpleasant, the limbic system kicks in. It starts to signal that this task is a threat to your comfort, pushing you towards activities that are more enjoyable or easier in the moment, like checking your phone or watching TV. In simple terms, procrastination happens when your limbic system takes over the prefrontal cortex. This is when the limbic system takes control, sidelining the prefrontal cortex. This is why, even though we know that completing the task is important for our future, we still find ourselves putting it off. The pull of instant gratification is just too strong. But here is the good news. While limbic system is powerful, the prefrontal cortex can be trained to take charge. This is where strategies like goal setting, time management, and habit formation comes into play. These techniques help strengthen the prefrontal cortex influence, making it easier to overcome the urge to procrastinate. Let's see how this works out in our day to day life. Imagine you're sitting down to work on an important project. Your prefrontal cortex knows that this task is crucial and important for your success, but your limbic system sees it as stressful and unpleasant. It starts to send signal that you need to check your phone or grab a snack and do anything else that feels easier and more comfortable, more enjoyable right about now. And then what you do? In majority of cases, your limbic system wins. You go grab that snack or get a sip of water or just have a chat with the colleague and delay whatever you were supposed to be doing in that moment. This internal battle is what leads to procrastination. The key to winning is to learn how to strengthen your prefrontal cortex so that it can override your limbic system impulses. So, how do we do that? How do we tip the scales in favor of prefrontal cortex? It all comes down to building habits that reinforce good decision making and reduce the power of instant gratification. In the next section, we will explore specific science backed techniques that can help you to train your brain to beat procrastination for good. Stick around because we are about to dive into actionable steps you can start taking today to overcome the procrastination and boost your productivity. We will break down practical strategies that can help you take control of your time and productivity. From breaking tasks into smaller steps to using 2-minute rule. These steps are designed to help train your brain and start taking action. The first thing you can do is break tasks into smaller steps. Instead of seeing task as one giant mountain, break it into smaller manageable steps. This will help you to overcome your fear. It will help you overcome your overwhelm and move you into taking the required steps. Second, set specific time bound goals. Setting clear, specific goals with deadlines gives yourself a sense of urgency. And once you feel that urgency, there is a high possibility that your prefrontal cortex will take charge and make you do what is required to be done. Third is use 2-minute rule. Let me give you a brief of what is 2-minute rule. So the 2-minute rule is a productivity strategy designed to help you overcome procrastination and quickly get started on the task. It comes in two parts. First is small task. If the task is supposed to take less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. This could be as simple as replying to an email, putting away a dish, or filing a document. The idea is to eliminate small, quick tasks right away instead of letting them pile up, which can reduce clutter and stress. Number two, for larger tasks. If a task seems overwhelming, you are struggling to get started. Commit to just 2 minutes to work on it. The logic here is that once you start, you are likely to continue working beyond the 2 minutes that you have given yourself. This helps break the inertia and build momentum, making it easier to continue working on the task. The 2-minute rule leverages on the idea that taking action, even for as smaller as of time as 2 minutes, can overcome the initial resistance to starting a task and lead to increased productivity and reduce procrastination. 4. Eliminate distraction. All of our lives are filled with too many distractions, starting from our smartphones to people around us to household tasks and everything else in between. So identify and eliminate your biggest distraction, whether it's your phone or social media or noisy work environment. You need to get rid of it. Number 5, reward yourself. Set up a reward system for completing tasks to keep yourself motivated. When we reward ourselves for everything that gets done, our brain understands that there is something that is ending at the end of completion, the light at the end of the tunnel, and it can keep you more focused and motivated. You have it, a complete guide to understanding and overcoming procrastination. Remember, it's about starting small, staying consistent, and being kind to yourself along the way. If you feel I have added something to your life with this, you have got value from this particular video, then be sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. If you have any other tips on procrastination that helps you today, please share them in the comments below so that it can help others and me as well.